the 2022 Strat-O-Matic Ratings Extravaganza. It's the National League West. Diamond Diehards is on. Joe Rizzo here bringing you Strat-O-Matic Baseball, along with the dog Jeff Healy and Strat-O-Matic insider Jerry Milani. This is, we'll call it episode 6 of a 6-part series where we have gone over all the Strat-O-Matic ratings for fielders for the 2022 set. You probably could be listening to this in 2023 or years beyond that. It doesn't matter. This is what we like to call an evergreen type episode. And we are mainly breaking down the ratings fielding wise for each of the players. We've done it by division. So if this is the first one you're listening to and you're more of an AL Central fan, we have an episode for that. We have every division. We're doing it by position, by division, to try to make it a little bit easier and make the episodes a little bit tidy. Our definition of tidy might not fit the one that is yours, but nevertheless, we persist, and that's what we do. We have started out every time with catcher and gone through all the way, and this will be no exception. So we open it up with the catchers in the NL West. A couple of Austins grabbing twos, Austin Nola from the Padres, Austin Barnes from the Dodgers, and Carson Kelly with the other two, and he is in Arizona. So we nearly had the clean sweep there of regular-ish or backup catchers getting twos in the NL West. But you get 3 out of 4, not bad, or 3 out of 5. Jer.
Yeah, I think too. Again, we've mentioned this before. The catching, the rating for their range is less significant than their arm rating, and also less significant in a lot of cases than for the other positions. But again, it's a reward, I think, for showing that those are guys that are the top of their. I mean, Yadier Molina is a 2 now. That's a range rating. That doesn't have anything to do with his speed. It doesn't even have anything to do with how far he can go to catch a foul ball. It's other elements of the game. So you get these guys like Nola and Barnes who I think are recognized among the top catchers, and they're kind of rewarded with the 2s here.
You got Will Smith, the Dodgers catcher, is a 3. We don't have the benefit of the catcher arms here, but I'm going to jump down to Dalton Varsho of the Diamondbacks. He's probably a player that a lot of you are interested in if you're in the Strat-O-Matic like redraft leagues or dynasty leagues. So Varsho is valuable because he's a good hitter. He plays a few different positions well in the outfield, but he's also a catcher, and he gets the 4 behind the plate. We're just going to solve the drama for you. He's a 3 in center and a 2 in right, and he's got a -1 arm in the outfield. We're not privy to the catching arm, but Dalton Varsho is a valuable player in that kind of league in Strat. He kind of helps you out. You know, if you have one catcher who can catch a bunch of the innings, but you know, you want to also put him in there, or you need a 3rd catcher. You don't really have to carry a 3rd catcher when you have him on your roster. He's like a very valuable player. When I was playing in the Strat leagues like that, I would have killed to have a Dalton Varsho on my team. He's what you guys would call a Riz guy.
And again, the 4 doesn't matter if let's say, I don't know, let's say he's a +1, I don't know, +2. If you have guys who can hold runners as pitchers for the majority of your starting staff and into some of your relievers, then maybe you can be okay with him at catcher 4, especially with the offense he's going to get you compared to the other catchers, which in this division here, the catchers, defense is kind of bigger than offense, I think, for a lot of them.
Yeah. Another interesting guy is Jorge Alfaro from the Padres. He's a versatile player. Like, he's a guy that sometimes gets used for his running, but like Jerry was saying, it doesn't really make it like, as he's a 4 defensively for his range as a catcher, but that's not necessarily a reflection. Like, he's a very athletic kind of player. I was actually surprised that he didn't play any other positions. I thought usually he would be, making a few appearances in the outfield for the Marlins when he was there, but didn't get anything last season. We move over to first, Dog. There's only 1-1, and it is the Diamondbacks all or nothing slugger Christian Walker getting the one and only one in the division.
Yeah, we've seen that kind of across the divisions, right? You just haven't seen a lot of really good fielding first baseman. So it's definitely been devalued over time. I mean, it's always been a little bit less valued than obviously other positions, but yeah, it's good to see Walker get the one out there and give Diamondback something to cheer for. Not a lot else.
Well, I don't know. I feel like that's a team on the come. The problem is they have the Dodgers and the Padres in their division.
Feels like they've been team on a come for a lot of years to come.
Yeah, we'll see more, especially with their outfielders, but they have a dearth of really good left-handed hitting outfielders like in the mix here, and a bunch of them have already made an impact at the major league level. Jer?
Yeah, and plus, he's the only one, and he's also the only non-3 or 4. Like, there's no 2s either among the first basemen. And I don't know, I think you could get your friends with trivia. Who was the first base Gold Glove winner last year? And the answer is Christian Walker was the Gold Glove winner at first base, which is interesting, right? Played, second time he's been able to play a full season, which I think has been a difference also in Christian Walker. But you mentioned him as an all or nothing slugger, but he also shows with the value on defense. Dog, you brought up that maybe first base isn't as big a deal, but it's like first base isn't as big a deal till you have a really bad one. Then It's a big deal. Then you see the difference all the way.
Well, particularly with the E rating, right? I guess that's sort of the thing. Like, that's what you kind of like to see on that, how it really impacts the rest of the game. It's like the range is, like dive in, making a great play or something like that, gives the range. But I would say for most of the managers out there, they'd like to see the guy who's got the soft hands and doesn't let anything get by him.
Yeah, Freddie Freeman
on the throw.
Freddie Freeman with the 3 for the Dodgers. It's a little, it's a little disappointing. Like, you kind of like, if Freddie Freeman's a 3 now, what's he going to be in the last 5 years of the contract?
Yeah,
kind of would hope
he's like another one. Sort of feels like he's generally a pretty good fielder, I would say. And I'm going to guess again that probably shows up in his team.
I mean, he was a 1 last year. He was a 1 E3.
Yeah,
he's from 1 to a 3 in 1 year is rough.
Yeah.
And the guy that he switched positions with, and not exactly via trade, but Matt Olson was a 1 for the Braves. So the Braves keep their 1 at first base. The Dodgers, I think Freddie Freeman hits more than enough to make up for his 3. But like, if he's a 1, that's even better. There's a bunch of guys that played multiple positions, and first base was maybe not their best. So we'll talk a little bit about those guys at different spots a little bit more. CJ Cron from the Rockies, gets the 3. Brandon Belt gets the 3 for the Giants. I think that really kind of did it for most of the regulars over there. Josh Bell, he got a 4 for his time with the Nationals and the Padres. So you'd probably hope, if you were Josh Bell's new team, that he would have been a little bit better than that. But he also spent a bunch of time at DH. I kind of feel like he's better than a 4, but maybe not a lot better. Like, he feels more of like a 3 to me, but the kid could hit. So, and he's a switch hitter. So we move on to second base. The Rockies are loaded at guys playing well at second base. They get the lone 1, Jerry, with Brendan Rodgers as the 1 second baseman in the NL West.
Yeah, it's a team that, again, because they've had so little success, I mean, throughout their time, but even particularly in the last couple of years, kind of fly under the radar. But Rodgers are kind of a good kind of, I hope it's a guy they can hold on to and make part of their future. Have no idea what's going on there with ownership and stuff there. It hasn't been a real commitment, I don't think, to winning recently. And, Rodgers and We said McMahon as a guy who plays mostly third, but also plays a little second and got the 2 there. They've got some defensive players there, but as a team, it's been a real struggle to get anything kind of going.
Dawg, Jake Cronenworth, for the Padres, he gets the 2 at second. He's also a 3 at first and short. He's sort of like ends up being this man with a position, but almost without a position now. Like they just keep bringing in guys that have to play in like the infield, right? Guys coming back. I mean, like what do they get? Like, what do they eventually do with Jake Cronenworth? Does he end up at like first? Is he a waste over there? Or is he really? I feel like second is probably his best position. Maybe they should let him pitch too. He was a good pitcher in college.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it seems like that's a bit of a waste to have the guy over at first. I mean, I'm gonna guess he just picked up a couple innings along the way there or whatnot. But yeah, clearly it looks like his better positions are at second and short, or the more valuable positions over at second and short.
Yeah, the Dodgers with Chris Taylor, he's a 3 at second. Of course, he's super versatile. He gets a 4 at third, a 3 at short, a 2 in left with a -1 arm, a 3 in center, and a 3 in right. Better numbers than the guy who won the utility man Gold Glove from Cardinals. So Strat would have probably given it to, well, I don't know who Strat would have given it to, but Chris Taylor would have been in definitely in contention for it.
Just versatility and having 2s and 3s in places, 5 different positions. He has a 2 or a 3.
Yeah. That's quite good.
And the -1 in the outfield.
Yeah. You don't get to see that a lot. You go down the line, Josh Rojas from Arizona gets the 3 at second. Garrett Hampson's a 3, one of like the myriad guys who played for the Rockies, and like who should, they should just try to get every inning of 162 games out of Brendan Rodgers over there. But Gavin Lux, a 3 for the Dodgers. He also plays short as a 3. We'll see how that comes into play with Trey Turner, now a Philly, and he's a Lux is a 4 and left with a 0 arm.
Muncy and Drury, for us. So.
Yeah. What was that, Dawg?
So I was looking at Max Muncy and Drury.
Oh yeah,
two guys, right? Just kind of tuned to kind of slide down there.
Yeah, so Muncy was a 3 at first, but of course he wasn't going to play there that much anymore with the acquisition of Freddie Freeman. He plays second and third as a 4. I imagine he's going to see much more time at third with Justin Turner moving on to the Red Sox, and Brandon Drury. Now he just signed somewhere right the other day, but he's not going to be back with San Diego. He gets the 4 at second. He was a 4 at first, a 3 at third, which is really the position that he more came up at third and short. He's a 4 at short and a 4 and right with a +1 arm. Here's something interesting. We're going to listen, everybody already knows that Mookie Betts is going to be a 1 and right because he always is. He's a 4 at second. And why is this interesting? It's interesting for this reason. He's talked about how for Team USA in the World Baseball Classic, he's like, I'm going to play, and I want to play second base. And he's also talked to the Dodgers about wanting to play second base, even though he's like, arguably the best right fielder defensively in the league. I thought it was very interesting previously in the offseason, because I felt like that would be a move that would keep the Dodgers in play for Aaron Judge. It didn't really turn out that way, but I just wonder, like, Betts he loves second base. And he's still like good enough for the few innings that he played there. He's still, they don't give him a 5. They respect his name and they give him a 4. So you can, if you so like to, you could play Mookie Betts in your Strat League at second base, Jer.
I think for fantasy owners, it's even better because if you have a fantasy league where once a guy plays a position, you can put him there. Everybody who had him moved him to second base to put somebody else in the outfield. But yeah, he started 5 games, or he played 5 games there as a starter at second last year. It's an interesting dynamic to move that way in the defensive spectrum, because second base is higher than right field. So you don't see too many guys doing that once they've hit 30, goes into his age 30 season next year. But if there's anybody who you think could do it, it's Mookie Betts. But how do you take a 1 -4 out of right field? I mean, there's a lot of value there as well. It'll be neat to see how things go. I think the way the offseason went, he's still your right fielder. But had they done something with right field, you're right. They might have thought about that move.
How about this, Dawg? Once Juan Soto hits the market, the Dodgers are going to be a player for him, right? Maybe he's sort of anticipating that.
Yeah, although I don't know, when you're in your 31, 32 year, it's harder to do than when you're 30.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If he anticipates that and says, I want to play it in the World Baseball Classic, I want to talk the Dodgers into it. Maybe there's, maybe they're going to be a player from Juan Soto. He's a Boris guy. He's definitely going to free agency. Whether he stays with the Padres for the last, bit of the contract here in the next couple of years, they could turn around and trade him if they want and get a haul for him again. They can get back the haul that they gave up to get him. Are they going to sign him long-term? They've signed a bunch of other guys. How much is there going to be left for Juan Soto? I mean, I think maybe they're trying to prepare for the eventuality that Soto ends up in LA. Just a thought. That's what we get. Strat. We're good. We're gleaning all of this.
Machine.
We're gleaning all of this from the Strat ratings. Because that's how we do it. Okay. Connect the dots.
Gatto Marte seems a little rough at the 4.
Yeah, I guess he's.
I thought he was a better fielder than that.
He's the transition back. Like he's a guy who fluctuates between center and second. So, and he wasn't in the outfield at all last year. But the reason is like we talked about it a little bit with the catcher stuff when we were talking about Dalton Varsho. They have all these outfielders, these all young, like grade A level prospect outfielders that are already hitting the majors. I mean, they're going to be able to trade probably even a couple of them and get good stuff back, but they need Marte at second. I think he's been rated better there in the past, but I think I would expect that as the team starts to improve, you'll see him get back into that 3 or the 2 range at second. I just feel like he's a good enough player to be able to do that. I could be wrong.
He's only going into age 29 also, so he's still right there in the prime years.
But it is interesting that Betts and Marte both are in the same division, and we're talking about guys making that weird move from outfield back into the infield, right? Like it's like Jerry said, the Robin Yount move is to go from shortstop and win an MVP there to center field and win an MVP there. Sorry about the Robin Yount reference, Dawg. Couldn't help it. Needed to make the example.
Rolling off the table.
Yeah, it's it is a Strat-O-Matic reference though.
It is. Oh yeah.
So for the unindoctrinated, Robin Yount
berserk.
He had a very good card, but he didn't have like a super card or anything. And he just absolutely just annihilated Dawg in a playoff series. Dawg's team was so much better.
It was like Mets. It was Mets Padres. What the hell happened to us?
Oh my God.
Robin, yeah. At least the Mets won a game.
Yeah.
It's just like dirt.
It's so memorable that we're still talking about it like 30 something years later. That's how great Robin Yount was against you.
It's amazing we didn't burn the uniforms after that.
Yeah. So Jerry hinted it here as we move to third base. Ryan McMahon gets to 1 at third for the Rockies. So maybe losing Nolan Arenado, when you have a guy like McMahon there replacing him, doesn't quite replace him yet with the bat, but with the glove, it's you can only be a 1. If there was a way to be higher than a 1, Arenado would be that, but McMahon's not too far behind. And Jerry have Manny Machado at getting the 1 at third. And I can't remember if he had been a 1 before, or maybe not consistently been 1 at third after the move from short, where you kind of like you so much assume that when a guy's a good defensive shortstop, he's going to move to third and just get that one. Like we assume Carlos Correa is going to grab a one at third next year, but it doesn't always work out that way.
Yeah, he got the one last year. Again, we talked about a guy who was a shortstop moving over. So does Correa, become a little bit bigger? Like Machado was always a hard hitter and he hit home runs anyway. But I think you look at him now and he looks physically different than when he played shortstop. Does Correa have the kind of frame that he could do the same thing and move over, but then still keep a one, like still be the kind of defensive presence that makes him so valuable to this team, to not just be the guy who because he's at third base and hits like he does, he's also just a premier caliber third baseman.
Yeah. Evan Longoria, I was not expecting this. He's still can pick it over there. They give him a 2 and he wasn't playing. He didn't play that many games this year for the Giants. I thought that he would have been probably like in the 3 range, but they do give him the 2. He was a guy that was usually consistently a 1, but it's kind of good to see Longoria over there. I think he still might be unemployed as we say this, as he moves over and be bopping and schlopping, looking for offers around the majors.
Now, is he somebody that translates to being able to play at first also? If he can increase versatility, play at third and first, and I would have even said second until this whole shift thing where you want to keep him in. If he's healthy, which he hasn't been, for any while here, you feel like he can still be an impact player. Maybe he's the piece. He's that guy that goes on to a Mets or a Yankees or a team that just needs kind of one more kind of veteran guy that they can carry, that if things don't go great, it's not it's a low risk probably proposition. Or does he try to go somewhere? I don't know if there is a place where he can play a lot at third base. You get to kind of hunt around and look around who's looking for a third baseman, or someone could move someone off third to have him play and play third. But it's an intriguing guy for some people in the off season, I think.
Yes.
Kind of a lost year in 22, but looking forward to maybe something different for him.
That good defensive rating definitely, like it perks your ears up. That's for sure.
Right?
Dawg,
a lot of time guys like that just get a 4, right? When
Yeah.
they're at the stage that Longoria is in, it's just a 4 and you forget about him.
Yeah. Dawg, JD Davis gets the 4 at third. He's a 4 at first and he gets a 5 and left with a 0 arm. The Mets got the worst of that trade. Not that JD Davis was like any superstar or anything, but they gave up JD Davis and 3 pitchers to get Darren Ruff. And boy, that was a rough deal.
That was rough. Where's the Diamond Dog? Yeah, that was, and Davis probably had like 2 of his better weeks of the season. I think immediately after they trade him, seemed like he started going right, hitting the heck out of the ball. Yeah, that was a bit of a head scratcher to me. It seemed like the Mets been wanting to move JD Davis for a while. I'm not entirely sure why. He's a good teammate. Nobody's really said anything negative on him, but they just had a real hankering to kind of move him. They did. We'll see. I mean, obviously now with Korea and everything else, it's gonna be just a footnote along the way. But yeah, it was a mistake. Let's put it that way.
Justin Turner, we mentioned it before. He gets the 4 at third for the Dodgers, and he moves on after, I think, what was it, like it's 8 years in LA or something like that. Geez, for a guy that was looked like he was going to be lost in his career after stints with the Orioles and the Mets, but
non-tendered. How did the Mets lose him? Was he non-tendered or was he? Just released?
Yeah, I think it was non.
Yeah.
I think it was non-tendered.
It was a bit of a clerical mistake. I don't think they wanted it to happen, but they kind of painted themselves into a corner with him. Anyway.
That was a weird one. They even Sandy says that obviously was a mistake on that move, especially on. I mean, I don't know what you were thinking of that one.
It's on the Orioles too. They gave up on him first. I think, right? We go to shortstop, and Ha-Seong Kim gets the 1 at short for the Padres, and like here they go. Like they got a guy. He's also a 2 at third, by the way, which we just didn't mention because we were holding that because of the one at short, but like you have a guy who's a one at short. You have a guy in Fernando Tatis Jr., who is your stud and, the centerpiece of the franchise. And, he's hurt in at least two motorcycle accidents during the off season, then gets banged for PEDs, but you still have this, $300 something million, 13, 14 year contract that you got to pay the guy. And he's a shortstop. And then, you got like Jake Cronenworth, and you got all these guys that can play shortstop well. So who do you go out and sign? Xander Bogaerts. Like there's a 2 at short for the Red Sox. Like how many guys do you need to play? I mean, I guess you could never have enough, but like
if you're gonna have a position full of guys, and this is kind of the Yankees with their minor leaguers, if you're gonna have a position full of guys, you'd like to have a whole bunch of catchers, and you'd like to have a whole bunch of shortstops. Because shortstop could translate, Robin Yount translated from shortstop, boom, to center field. Manny Machado's just shortstop, boom, third base. Kim was rated, you said he rated a 1 at short and a 2 at third. He's not going to play either of those positions this year. He's going to play second. Boom, he's going to be a 1 there. You got a shortstop, you want Ernie Banks, you want to play him first base, you play him at first base. You want to put him in the outfield, your shortstops will end up going wherever based on whatever is best for that lineup, whatever's best for that team. And those guys are all young enough that if the dynamic changes, if they move to another team, or if there's somebody's moved within there, they can go back to being a shortstop, I think, without problem.
Dog, in Strat that works, right? Like you just have to get the guy out in the field and he gets his numbers. But in real life, like how do you deal with telling Fernando Tatis, like, hey, we got like 3 guys that are a better shortstop than you now, so you're going to learn to play center field, and like you might suck at it or like forever or for a while. Like you got to be able to talk him into that. Like he's already got his money. Like is he allowed to be miserable? Like how do you does it translate?
Yeah, I mean, we were talking before, right? I mean, the Strat doesn't care about chemistry, so you can put anybody together on these sorts of teams, and that's the way you can only simulate so much, right? But yeah, I mean, clearly that's the case. Like we were talking about, A-Rod coming over to Jeter and Correa with Lindor and stuff like that. That to take guys who are top. I mean, it's sort of funny. Like it's more recently with so many good shortstops and so many good shortstops coming up with contracts that. There's such premier players. There's only so many big market teams that can afford them. That like perversely, they're getting forced into moving to other positions. Like I was thinking a story over at second, right? Is a recent example like that, where like normally that guy would always have been a shortstop to somebody, and now, there's only so many different teams that are going to pay you. You got to be willing to kind of shift over.
Throughout
long story short, I mean, I think it's a real challenge. And that's why you need a good manager to be able to kind of work with the player. And, that's where, it's going beyond the analytics. It's not just letting the Strat auto play, right? I mean, you need to have a manager who can actually go out there and have him go out and achieve those numbers.
Yeah. Throughout the division, you see that last season, it was quite good there. Trey Turner in his final season with the Dodgers gets the 2 at short. Brandon Crawford, the 2 at short. For the Giants, of course, now he'll move over to second base because they signed Carlos Correa to an 11-year, $315 million deal.
Oh, wait.
No.
What division are we doing?
Never mind. Never mind.
That's right. They just signed Conforto. So there you go.
Yeah.
Instead of Aaron Judge.
Here
you go.
Yeah.
We're worried about Correa's
go ahead and lop up whatever good guy is left to try to put something together.
We're gonna sign Conforto because we're worried about injuries.
But but Crawford, they talked about in that brief little time where it looked like Correa was going there. That was a thing that just what you talked about, Dog. It's like now you got Crawford, who's I still think a prime shortstop. Like he's a shortstop. He's a major league shortstop. He shouldn't be playing second base yet. Or third base. He's a shortstop still. And he at least gets this year with that. And probably he's probably just their shortstop moving forward now. I don't know what other moves there are down the road with short. This happened to be a shortstop heavy year. And next year, I haven't looked as deeply into who the free agents are in the free agent pool next year or who the surprise trade candidates are, but Crawford, keeps that 2 there, and you've got mostly 2s and 1s among the starters, and a couple of 3s just mixed in, the guys that play.
I do feel like Brandon Crawford, his maximum value is as a shortstop, because he's a streaky hitter. His bat is not his strength. He's a handle the bat guy, occasional pop, but he's great defensively and he's a great leader. So if he's at shortstop, he's giving you the maximum value. When you start moving him to second, he's only that good if he still can, be as great defensively at second as he is at short. He also looks like a guy who's aging well there at short. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if he just popped back to a 1 again next year at all.
And I wouldn't discount what the new shift rule means for the value of a second baseman. I think second base might have been affected, third base too, but I think second base was affected the most by how the position was viewed, because you could almost hide a guy at second if you wanted to. If you move that shortstop over to the second base side, you could either put the second baseman out in the outfield, or even if he's still in the infield there, the first baseman is over. He's covering much less ground. The third baseman's going to cover more ground, but they're not expecting the ball to be hit there. More balls are hit towards second. Now you're going to, with that shortstop having to be at least behind the bag, he's going to have to cover a lot more ground at second. So the value may be less, but look, for Crawford, he's playing short. I think that the shift rule increases the value of all the defensive guys. I think second base the most, and maybe shortstop the second most, because now that shortstop is still hopefully going to be expected to cover some of that ground on the second base, on the first base side of second base. Interesting to see how it works. Interesting to see how it works in Strat also, because we're looking at the ratings and we're thinking about it historically, and I don't think that we change much in the Strat world, thinking in terms of what it means for shifts and things like that. It's just hard to quantify that in the way the game is built. You'd almost have to rebuild the engine.
Yeah. So you're playing the shift, not playing the shift. Do you think third base comes down a little bit now that you have the shift come back off? If second base goes up in importance,
now you've moved the shortstop over, so where the third baseman
is
had
stuck
to cover
more in the corner again,
more ground. But like, did anybody try to really take advantage of that? I mean, you saw every once in a while Rizzo would try to drop one down third, and a couple of the smarter guys would know, they'd try to do that. Nobody really tried to hit the ball there with any consistency. So that third baseman was standing at shortstop and never getting any balls. Does now the fact that the shortstop moves over, the third baseman will be maybe more at a more normal spot. Are guys going to hit the ball there any more than they did before? I don't know. It doesn't feel like me that third base is going to be as affected as second base. That's an impression.
And you had some
more about defensive positioning will know better than me, but I just from watching, that's what I feel.
Yeah. And you had some third baseman going over and actually playing the right side with the shift too, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes teams would leave the shortstop and then move the third baseman,
or even put him in the outfield, based on being instead of just shifting everybody over, they move him because he has less, and let the shortstop cover that whole left side of the infield. But nobody hit the ball there anyway. It wasn't in their DNA. It wasn't in their makeup.
Manny
Dan
Machado,
Gallagher would never have let that happen. Everybody would have hit the ball to friggin' left field.
Manny Machado was one of the first ones that a couple of years ago, they would leave the shortstop there and he would go over and play that, short right field behind second base.
The Riz spot.
The rover, free safety.
Everyone would like a spot. I'm like, that's the Riz spot.
Free safety, baby.
Riz
In
X.
baseball.
Just don't put Tyro Estrada there. He's a 4.
Riz, it's softball. What position you playing? It's like a combination of free safety and punt returner. Don't worry, I'll end up where the ball is. I will. Okay, done with the catchers and the infielders, and that means, of course, it's time to tell you about the Mascolo Group. Real estate needs, Northern New Jersey, the Northern Valley, the Pascack Valley, wherever you are. You want to buy, you want to sell, you want to rent, you want to own, you want to get in, you want to get out. Go to GaryMascolo.com or call 201-615-3665. Michele and Gary will take care of you. FMSgraphics.com is a family-run, family-owned business for the last 50 plus years, and they will cater to all of your printing and promotional needs. It's just a few clicks, and then you will get your stuff a few days later. FMSgraphics.com. Go check it out for all your printing and promotional needs. Gatto Acupuncture Wellness in Glen Rock, New Jersey. Book online at gattoacu.com or call 551-212-3845. Dr. Melissa, thank you for allowing me to raise my shoulder above my head, and also for taking care of the Diamond Diehards family who are smart enough to get in there and consult you about their health and wellness. Gatto Acupuncture, GattoAcu.com or 551-212-3845. And of course, Big Ed's Car Wash in Fair Lawn, New Jersey, 17-16 River Road. Your vehicle will go in dirty. It will come out spotless, outside and in. Big Ed has a 118-foot tunnel. Size matters, folks. It does. And Ed does it clean and green. So go visit Big Ed's Car Wash if you're anywhere in the Bergen or Passaic County areas in New Jersey. Big Ed's Car Wash, Fair Lawn, New Jersey. And you know what that means. On to the outfielders in the NL West, the 2022 Strat-O-Matic Ratings Extravaganza. Jerry is chomping at the bit here to start, so I'm going to give you the reins, my friend. Go ahead.
I am. Joey Gallo gets the 2. That's what I've been waiting for all day. So Joey Gallo, you know, he was the one with the Yankees and with the Rangers before that. Gets the 2 after the crazy lost season that he had. He's going to get a chance to kind of restart, reset everything this year. But a bunch of 2s and a bunch of minus outfield arms. So Gallo gets the -4 as well. Joey Gallo should have been the right perfect fit for the Yankees. If he just was Joey Gallo up until he got to the Yankees, that would have been perfect. Occasional home run, play a great outfield, -4 in the outfield, left and right. It just, too bad it didn't work out. We talked about Chris Taylor already with his versatility. His best position is left field with the 2 and the -1, and a whole bunch of other guys that are regulars that have 2s. Jonathan Daza, Sam Hilliard, a bunch of guys that got 2s and with negative arms in the outfield, which is the best crop of left fielders I think we've seen among any of the divisions, and all 6 divisions. Left field is really strong here.
The Dodgers, especially, it's like everybody who they threw out there, including Trace Thompson, who's a 2 in every outfield position. He did mainly play left, but I think he was even playing center by the time they were in the playoffs, and he gets the -2. Trace Thompson, in case you don't know, and it's just a strat card to you, his brother is Klay Thompson from the Warriors, one of the Splash Brothers. So it's a professional basketball player and a professional baseball player as the son of Michael Thompson, who played for the Showtime Lakers.
One of the all-time great college players ever, Michael Thompson. Yeah. He was a great pro, but he was one of the all-time great college players.
Yeah. So Trace Thompson has bounced around a little bit. I mean, they basically got him from the Cubs for a bag of balls, and he just had a phenomenal year for the Dodgers. He's definitely going to have a great strat card, even offensively. And I mean, if you have him in a league, like a draft league or whatever, you're almost certainly going to play him in center as a 2 -2.
2s all across -2. It's great.
Yeah, with his outfield presence.
Slater 2s across -1, just not the offensive player that Thompson is.
Yeah, but Austin Slater, a useful player as well. But yeah, like you said, Jerry, this is probably the best crop in terms of depth. It's like every team has somebody good. Jake McCarthy from the Diamondbacks, he's a 2 with a -1 in left and right and a 3 in center. Even Jose Azocar, how often did he play out there for the Padres? but he gets a 2. Same thing, 2 with a -2 in right and left and a 3 in center. You already talked about Sam Hilliard. Will Myers, he's on the move. He gets a 3 in left and right, 0 arm. He also has a 3 at first. And he even took time at third as a 5. Again, the Padres have a million infielders, and somehow Will Myers found his way to third base for an inning or two. Like, whose joke was that? Yerkes Profar, a 3 -2 in left field only, and it's kind of funny because he's a guy who came up as a middle infielder.
Shortstop, right? Yeah, that's what I thought.
Most highly touted.
Yeah, exactly. He
Go
was the
back
guy.
10 years back, 12 years back when he came up. His name was on everyone's favorites for and he's ended bad. Look, he's had a 10-year career.
Bad for the Mets.
Maybe he hasn't had the career everyone wanted, but it's 10 years later, and now he's still playing. I mean, he's in left field now, but he's still playing.
Yeah, but the funny thing is, he would be a guy that you would think would have a lot of versatility, and he ends up only playing one position, and it's the outfield.
I gave him a -2 out there. I bet you he's a guy that I know that maybe by necessity he played left field, and that's where he played. But I think, one of the things with Strat is your guy, and you have your positions based on what they played for that year. But that's different than in the real life. If San Diego had a need they needed a shortstop for a week or a second baseman or whatever for a week, and as a guy with middle infield experience, you'd put him there. And Strat, you have to give him the 5 if you put him there, because that's the way the rule is. But in real life, he probably isn't that. But Yerman Mercedes is. So Yerman Mercedes gets 3 5s. He's a 15. He gets 3 5s. Catcher, first base, and left field.
No, I mean, but the point about Profar was like even like Will Myers played third. Like, wouldn't you put Profar at third before you ever let Will Myers land there? He's like, yeah, I don't know, whatever. It's kind of funny.
Will Myers played first. Will Myers pretty good at first.
But the Padres just have all these guys, that are just. Yeah, but he kind of fits the mold. And now I think he's a free agent. We'll see if he's back there, if there's room, but. Anyway, we move on, and Nomar Mazara is a 4 in left and right with a 0 arm. He's kind of had a little bit of a career resurgence after he was a super high prospect as well, and he kind of flamed out, but now he's kind of finding his way a little bit. Jock Peterson is back in San Francisco. Great platoon stats. You would just hope that he got a 3 in left or right, but he's a 4 in both with a +1. So that kind of hurts, even though he's got the left-handed bat that rakes against righties. It does kind of hurt him. Yeah, it makes him a little bit less playable. All right, we talk now about center field in the NL West. And of course, as you would expect, Cody Bellinger gets one of the ones, but there's 3 of them. And Trent Grisham, who didn't hit a whole hell of a lot until he saw Mets jerseys pitching to him in the playoffs, he gets a 1. And we were talking about the Diamondbacks before. Alec Thomas, their huge prospect, jumps into the majors here and gets a 1 right off the bat. So 3 1s in center, 60% there. Of the teams in the NL West have a 1 in center, Jer.
Yeah, and minus arms. I mean, you talk Bellinger at the -3 and Thomas at the -2, only going to get better. I mean, I'm better. You can't get better than a 1, but as a player, he's only going to get better. And then even, your other options in center field with a bunch of 2s, the outfield in the West, just quietly, just kind of is, better than the center field is maybe the best my best crop of center fielders defensively that we have of any of the 6 divisions as well. And mixed among the teams, even with Lewis Brinson playing, backing up, and a couple guys, you got all these guys that you could put in as backups. Steven Duggar is a center fielder with a 2, you got -2 arms. So there's all these guys, even that aren't your regular players, who are 2s, which you don't see as much of. But you got a lot of options. Again, it's center field, so you're not going to have too many guys that play out there. They're going to play as 3s or 4s, but you have a few that have ratings out there, mostly that are corners that are just playing some center field. But your regular center fielders, are among the best crop in the league.
Yeah, and like you said too, they're all like when you sort them by range, every one of them has a minus arm. There's like almost nobody. Randall Grichuk, he's a 3 in center and a 3 in right. He's got a +1 arm. Everybody else is a 0 or a minus. Actually, Will Myers is the only 0, and Garrett Hampson, who's not even, that much of an outfielder. Maybe it's more in his future. There's zeros. Everybody else is minus. That was a regular player in center field in the NL West. So we've seen it in left, we've seen it in center, and we move on to right field. And in right field, we have Dawg, a couple of ones, one that we mentioned before, and another one with a familiar last name.
Yeah, absolutely. So, two of the top outfielders in the game. Obviously Mookie Betts, we talked about before, and we were talking about a lot at second base, but clearly this is its prime position in right field. One with the -4 cannon, just fantastic to put out there. Great benefit again for a great Dodger pitching staff, and you see the defense that they get behind them as well, particularly with the outfield arms and so forth and range. In a big park like Dodger Stadium, really huge. And then of course Yastrzemski coming in. So obviously a very familiar name, or in the AL East sort of time. But young kid Mike Yastrzemski, great hitting obviously, and obviously can go out there and pick it as well. The one -1 arm out there. So very strong setup out there. And then a bunch of twos and stuff in here as well. So kind of contrasting before, we were saying like a bunch of, I think it was the Central. We were talking at all the guys, most of 4s and 5s and stuff like that. Much better defense across the division. And like I said, kind of similar to what Jerry was saying before. The NL1, there's a bunch of 2s, and half the backups are 2s as well. So you really, your 4s are really the guys who hardly ever need to play out there.
Yeah, this outfield wise, I think we probably are all in accord that defensively for the Strat season, if you're going by division, the outfielders in the NL West take the chip as far as being the best in terms of D.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, just look at the Dodgers, right? I mean, just they're the biggest highlight of it, right? But if you just sort of the Dodgers, right? Gallo 2 -4, Bellinger 1 -3, Betts 1 -4. I mean, boy, that's awesome to back up your pitcher there.
Yeah, you would think that it would have gotten him first.
It feels not as spiffy though. Give him that. Gets a lot more fly ball pitchers out there, so we'll see.
You think we might have gotten him around further in the playoffs, but it didn't work out that way. Time to retool. Time for us to retool too. We'll be back. The next time we're back will be with the more regular type shows, and we've started to. We were talking about it for a long time. Are we going to start to do something a little bit different? So we've had some of the longer form interview shows with the likes of Ray Montgomery, the Angels bench coach, and Jeff Pearlman. Now we do the Strat-O-Matic series here, and we've still had our regular Dawg and I hot stove updates, so we'll be mixing those in as well. And it's been a heck of a year. Maybe we'll do one more before the year ends, but probably I don't know if we even have to. I don't know if we even have to, because by the time we release this, it'll be just about the end of the year. So this was as we recorded it and released it. This was part 6 in a 6-part series, the Strat-O-Matic 2022 set baseball ratings preview. And I would like to give a big thanks to Strat-O-Matic, and especially to Jerry Milani, Strat Insider, for his time and efforts in helping us put all this together, and also helping spread the word to get Diamond diehards out and what we're doing here via Strat. This is actually how the podcast started. It was back in March of 2020. We were stuck in the impending pandemic, and Jerry was telling me what Strat-O-Matic was going to do, which was that they were going to start playing the postponed part of the baseball season with a Strat replay, and he's like, hey, why don't you do a podcast? I'll get you all the results and blah, blah, blah. So the first like 10 episodes of this show pretty much are like me talking about Strat-O-Matic games that were run off. And, Dawg joined in soon thereafter, and Jerry was on a bunch of those early shows as well. And, it just eventually became a thing. And here we are almost 3 years later. And we're still looking for our first follower on Apple Podcasts.
That's not true.
I know it's not true.
Feels like it.
Oh boy. Yeah. So the point is, if you've gotten this far, just please go follow us on whatever.
Throw us a share.
Yeah.
Throw us a like.
Wherever you're listening to us or watching us, please actually go through with it and do that, because we're doing this for fun, but we also want it to be successful. So thank you to Strat. Thank you to Jerry. Of course, thank you for the Dawg for being my right-hand man, putting up with all my crap and doing this stuff at the last minute or weird times or in the middle of life going on. It's Dawg's had some rough spots this year, but man, Dawg, you always friggin' show up for me, man. I love you, bud. Jerry, I love you too. Let's enjoy the rest of 2022 and look forward to a big 2023 in Strat, in Diamond Diehards, in real life, and whatever floats your boat. So that's going to do it for Jerry Milani and the Dawg, Jeff Healy. This is Joe Rizzo. Diamond Diehards is out.